Well then, we're going to be continuing on with today's games. Now moving into our fourth matchup, meaning we've reached the halfway point of tonight's show and we've prepared a nice little treat for you. Sprat1e versus Vengeur. Dan, when does Vengeur not provide entertainment and explosions?
Never, but nor does Sparty.
No? Very true. Very true.
So it could be a very high fragging affair.
I'd hope so. I would hope so. And if we look at the veto for this one, potentially that could sway us in seeing how it's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at, I guess, overall recent history, one would expect Wenger to walk away with it relatively comfortably, but for Sparty to come in and to really build his way up the leaderboard as he has done, and to, in the process, put in some big results, shows how much commitment he has and how much dedication he's been putting into the game recently. But onto the vetoes, we have Vale and we have Galena for Sparty against the Ranger of, I was going to say Razy, of Vengeur. I guess in the current meta, we've been seeing a lot of heavy champions on that map, so it's good to kind of revert to more traditional play. Galena is very, very good in setting up his totems around the teleporter area in the mega room to set up camp and abuse that fact, whereas just Ranger's utility excels everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Awoken, we have the BJ for Sparty and the Strogan Pika as Vengeur bans out his own Doom, probably because Sparty would have been able to pick that first. What do you think about that matchup on Awoken?
I think Awoken should be fun. The only issue we've run into, right, is obviously what we saw earlier with Dahang versus Zeniku, where Strog provides for so much more movement, whereas BJ really the only thing he can muster up is a little bit more control and a bit more presence on the map when it comes to trying to defend a major item. Benefit is it's Awoken, it's a lot tighter, it's a lot
Yep.
smaller. There's not too much you can do there to really, create a lot of space. It will just be more if he wants to really be that true Kid Bellissimo style player and just swing, he can. That could be a benefit, but that could actually be quite a fun one. BJ versus Strog and Awoken. I think that hits all the boxes for me.
Yeah, completely agree. I don't feel the speed is as prevalent. It still plays a big role, but it's not one of the maps where you can really maximize the difference there. And then we're finishing up with the Visor and the Nyx on Molten Force. Again, the classic pair of champions to finalize, as you say. Molten Force normally finishing us up on a lot of these ties.
It always seems to be the bookend of the series for some reason, especially more recently, and it is quite a fitting end. Obviously, the style of map that Molten is a little bit different from everything else we normally have in the pool, right? So you don't mind having it at the end.
It's a map that no one truly specializes on, and it's quite it plays very unique, and that's why I guess a lot of people don't ban it out because it is. I can't remember the last time I saw a truly one-sided Molten.
No, no. It's always either quite slow and steady and really grueling the entire way, or just an absolute grind the entire time. It's never sort of just a dominant blip and it's over. We don't see many whitewashes on it. And with the Visor versus Nyx, that's the yin and yang of Quake champions, really, isn't it? The active from Visor versus the Ghost Walk from Nyx. There's not really much else about that one, rather than the fact it's such a staple matchup.
Yeah. The only thing is obviously Visor slightly heavier stack, but next with the utility. So as you say, complete polar opposites in the way they should be played.
No. Well, let's bring it back to our opener here then over on NAF. That will be where we kick things off. Galena for Sparty. Not too much really wrong with it. Vale has a few cheeky positions that we've seen time and time again from players like Razy that can be whipped out. Obviously, a very tight map as well. Close angles, lots of choke points, lines of sights are very restricted. So potentially some dangerous totems could be coming out. For the Ranger on Vengeur, though, that Dire Orb does give you that extra bit of mobility that I think is quite necessary to navigate.
Yeah, Dire Orb and Rocket Jump passive are vital on Vale. There's split levels, means you can use them both very, very effectively. But as you say, there are some cheeky spots for the totems, but otherwise you might traditionally see them set up in the teleporter exit up above Mega. It's also a good refueling stop, as there's a lot of one-on-one lightning gun battles in the mid-range up there, and you can just dive onto your totem to get that top up, the extra 75 health, whatever. It can make a massive difference in these fights and be a decider. So the utility for both champions plays well on Vale for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely so. It should be interesting. It's good to see, obviously, Vengeur, as we touched on earlier, being in 6th place. That's quite a huge milestone, being one outside of the top 5, did well in Poland. The rough part is, obviously, when you look at Maestro, everyone looks towards Razy, but Vengeur is still definitely a top contender. He's damn versatile. Obviously, back in stage 1, Zoot said that he didn't think, Vengeur was even going to drop a single map on Awoken. That didn't reign true, but it was nearly close enough that it could have happened, Dan. For the most part, he is incredible on that map.
He has been, and he was one of the early adopters of the map, the early innovators of the map, but at the same time, it does feel that the rest of the league has begun to catch up with the level that he's set there. And as much as he has displayed dominance, he has also shown the world how to play it effectively. And so people have learned from him and adapted their playstyles around the way in which it should be played. And so he hasn't been as impenetrable in his positioning as the leader on that map. But Sprat1e is someone who very much so can take the map to him.
Oh yeah. Well, let's find out. We're in here over on Vale of Naf. Sprat1e versus Vengeur. And how is this one going to go? We are straight in Sprat1e, trying to circumvent the early push coming through from Vengeur. The rockets and rails whizzing through the air already. And Sprat1e's been able to get his second totem slapped down on the floor as well. Nice setup on the angle to get an extra bit of poke damage off on towards Vengeur. He dives straight past the heavy, has to make his move back over to grab it on the second push by. Heals himself off the totems. Vengeur's stack is already in a good spot. He was able to get the mega and didn't take too much damage from that early confrontation.
Yeah, Sprat1e obviously just about winning with the early exchanges with the range, but now Vengeur has his own rail to play with, has responded in kind.
Dire Orb TP for Vengeur. Gets himself on the elevated angle. He's really committing to this. He wants this frag and he is hungry for it, and he will be able to snatch it away. Also takes down the totem placements for Sprat1e, so that is a clean entry into the game. A very nice way to kick it.
Yes, and I think people often don't appreciate how important clean frags are in Quake in general, because it just allows you to keep momentum and keep the pressure up on your opponent. But unfortunately for Sprat1e, he reads what Vengeur's doing and steals away the mega, meaning he's back on the board.
So close between them both off the back of that lightning gun fight. Sprat1e had to heal himself up and was lucky that he had the totem in his back pocket to do so. Vengeur drops down, replenishes his rockets, and starts to again begin to chase. Thinking that he can outbrain the opposition. Was prepared just underneath the depth-defying jump that Sprat1e would have to go for. Tagged him. They chase the fight for control of the heavy. Vengeur makes it first with a rocket jump and then kills Sprat1e with a rail. That was sick.
I mean, the rocket jump won him the frag, and Sprat1e trying to push in for the refrag, but somehow Vengeur gets away with no health and again hits a rail. But he comes away with the frag here. This is mental. Fortunately for Sprat1e, he doesn't, otherwise that would have been incredibly frustrating. Sprat1e has already got up his overstack.
That's so sick, though. What a way to start this off. Like, just sheer madness with the level of aggression that's coming through, the movement, everything about it is showing that Vengeur is out for business tonight. Sprat1e hoping that he can begin to bridge that gap already. Gets a couple of tags off with the rocket. He drops his third totem down to get the overstack back in play. Turns the corner and zaps his way through Vengeur, leaving him again dead at the door.
I've always found that Sprat1e's playstyle is heavily aimed in so much that if he hits his shots, he is somebody that's very, very tough to beat. And a lot of his plays are based off of his mechanical skill. So at the moment it's looking good because he seems to be hitting a lot of the shots he should be hitting.
My life sustains.
Somehow Sprat1e's kept up his overstack for a couple of minutes, which is impressive to say the least.
Oh yeah, he's been very effective at getting them down just the right time, although you wouldn't even realise he had that much of a stack. He died in seconds.
He got
He
melted.
just got ripped in half.
It's the thing, if you give Vengeur an inch, he'll often take a mile. So effective at dealing damage.
Ooh. Rocket round the corner onto Vengeur, blowing him to bits.
Be healed in the power
Again,
of
the overstack is back out for Sprat1e. So effective with these totems. They need to be found. They need to be destroyed. For Vengeur, he's at least got the lead. He has that one frag advantage. How long can he keep it up for? Sprat1e is starting to hunt. He's beginning to try and chase. He wants that heavy again as well. And he is right near it. Vengeur is just beneath. He drops down. Knew where he was after getting the additional armor. Begins to fully commit to the fight. The rockets are raining down. And this should be the tie-up. Ooh, that could have gone bad.
He's just in time for the Mega as well. But he falls down. Is that a mistiming?
Oh, he made it back up. Oh,
Crazy. And he's lost. That's painful on both fronts.
that is indeed going to make this more of a struggle than it needed to be. God, it could have been a whole different story, but instead it's going to keep this one competitive. It's just the nature of the beast. Oh, it's gone. Sprat1e beamed there. He has just been absolutely torn to shreds by the LG. Both of them were so low, but Sprat1e instantly replenishes himself. This is just sheer madness, that.
Vengeur's keeping the pressure up now, but he's low himself, and Sprat1e misses. Rail expected to hit. But fortunately, he gets the heavy spawn and manages to get himself a decent stack, but he has no weapons. But he knows the timing. Vengeur needs to get out of there because he has nothing.
That's the second time we've seen it go down like that as well, with both of them just having like 10 stack left and having to really scrape by to see who would take it. It's just crazy. We're going to hit the 7-minute mark. 7 frags for Vengeur, 4 for Sprat1e. Although this game has been closed, Vengeur has been able to inch further and further into the lead the longer the game goes on. No LG ammo, 4 rockets. He's going to have to try and track some down to replenish himself a little bit and give his arsenal a bit more bang to play with.
Sprat1e trying to trap his opponent, delaying the items once again. I like that play, and he has caught Vengeur here, but gets bounced the wrong way and needs to back up. Does have time to reset before the heavy though. Vengeur hasn't been able to get a major item for some time, but he is doing great defensive damage, and probably will get the frag as those rockets are pinpoint. Oh, did he die still?
Yeah, that could have been awful if he would have gone down like that. He would have never forgiven himself. And it could have been just what the doctor ordered for Sprat1e. Instead, he's still going to have to ride the struggle bus for a little bit longer now. Trying to chase him down, firing out the rockets, but Vengeur evading them, keeping himself moving as he gains some space between them.
He's been on the ropes for most of this map, but Sprat1e's not been able to find the ins he wants. It's more than often than not played out like this, where defensive play from Vengeur's just been impeccable.
coming through, connecting quite effectively. There's the boost up from Sprat1e as they'll take a rail straight to the chest. And they are both incredible. Low Sprat1e with the flick with a rocket. Oh, that was tasty.
He's got his overstack up once again, and he has caught Vengeur here off the spawn. This will be another frag. Sprat1e is quickly regaining parity in this map.
I wonder if it's still possible.
But it is.
Left. He is chasing. He's trying his hardest. One totem away from another overstack, but it's going to be 40 seconds before that's back up unless he can find himself some hourglasses. Unfortunately, he falls to Vengeur. There goes all the totems, and there goes his chance at winning this match.
Good game. Well played.
That's unfortunate. There was such a big entry point for him back into the game, but it's been snatched away from him, and it is instead going to end probably around the region of a 6-12 scoreline if Vengeur can get one more before this end, and it looks like he wants it.
The real training point, the real turning point was that missed opportunity on the Mega at like 4 or 5 minutes in where Sprat1e fell off the pad, whether it's a missed timing or just a mistake, and that cost him a big lead because Vengeur was able to then pick up the item, pick up the frag, and keep a bit more pressure on to get a couple of vital extensions in his lead. And it turned out that that was the defining point because ultimately that was an 8-6 win for Vengeur. The last few frags were just the icing on the cake.
Yeah, just a little bit of something extra at that point. Rough there on Vale. A close affair, some moments, some twists and turns, but in the end, it is going to be Vengeur that walks away quite dominant from that one. Moving on to Awoken, however, the BJ that's going to be coming out for Sprat1e, Strog and Pika on the board this time for Vengeur. Now, we said obviously the Strog, not as effective as he can be on other maps on Awoken there. It's a little bit smaller. Still curious of how this one is going to go. I would genuinely have to favor Vengeur, I think, entirely going into this, though. Just purely because it's a map that is basically his home turf. He's normally dominant on it. And you give him a champ where he can peak a little bit faster. He can take more fights confidently. I think he's going to have a field day.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing I take from the previous map is that Sprat1e went toe-to-toe in terms of combat skill.
Yeah.
And he was the one often in control and with the pressure. It was more Vengeur on defense, in fact. It was the defensive play that Vengeur that won in that game. So Sprat1e can keep up that level of aggression. It's definitely a little bit harder to play as defensive on Awoken because there isn't as many split levels. And the map is a little bit smaller as well. So if that can happen, then Sprat1e's got a good chance to keep it just as close.
Yeah. I mean, the one surprising part as well is obviously just the overstack that entire time. Like, we've seen a lot of Galena. I don't think we've ever seen anyone have 3 totems down that consistently throughout an entire game. So, like, as a key takeaway, that's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, and it wasn't like he was cheesing it or anything. It was totems in just smart positions where he knew Vengeur traditionally wouldn't go. I mean, it's one of the ways to use it. So, as you say, it was very unusual to see that level of uptime. I mean, it must have been well over half the game.
Oh, yeah. It definitely seemed like it, but we are in on Awoken now, and we can kick this one off. BJ versus Strog and Pika. Sprat1e straight in, as she's taken a rail to the lips. Forces out his akimbo instantaneously as he is hammering out these rockets, hoping to get a connection back across on towards Vengeur. Knows where he is, and that's a second rail already being landed by Vengeur.
Sprat1e's not happy with that.
Oh, that's good.
Oh.
I guess he fired him up a little bit there. Pika play coming through. about a minute into the matchup already, and not really too much to write home about, although Vengeur has been landing some lovely little rails. If that carries on, that is going to be worrying. Is it going to be able to poke so much? Instead, when it comes to up-close and personal fights, it's going to favour Sprat1e for the most part, but it's the rocket from Vengeur, the clutch rocket.
Yeah, clutch is the word. The switch was at the right time where Sprat1e had moved himself into a corner, and the aggression again, just whilst being potentially the right choice, is not paying off.
Stopwatch.
It won't pay off here as he's a little bit late to the party.
Stopwatch. Tank. Permit master.
Time to die.
Double rocket coming through, that's double the firepower. And now a third frag found as Sprat1e in a good spot to try and get more from this. Pulls himself back over towards the Mega, going to be able to grab that to replenish himself so at least he can really push his agenda and fight. He should be able to get a second if he wants to swing wildly against Vengeur. Bouncing through the portal, hoping to track him down. He'll slip through it himself. Turns out from the rear, spots Sprat1e. He's forced to rocket jump back across over towards the Mega spawn. It's getting a little bit messy now, Dan.
It is getting a wee bit messy, but this is going to suit Sprat1e. This has got a really good rotation going on. That's a nice use of the Pika though. See, just these little ticks of damage from Vengeur, they add up over time. That's what he's done such a great job at across this series so far.
Stopwatch.
Oh, Vengeur. How is he even still standing? This man should be a puddle on the floor with how low he just was. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, he's been getting really fortunate in a lot of these engagements, but at the same time, his positioning and his awareness of Sprat1e's movement has always been on point. So he has deserved every point of luck he is getting.
Stopwatch.
The armor up. 4 minutes. Near miss rails from both of them. It's not working out too nicely here whatsoever. There's the Pika, but it hits the walls. It tries to kamikaze in to do damage back onto Sprat1e. They've really fallen into a little bit of a stalemate here. Just the Mexican standoff.
Yeah, Vengeur's just keeping his distance, trying to deal damage at range. Sprat1e's doing his utmost to try and pressure Vengeur, but the speed of Struggle Pika is where Vengeur is really coming out on top at this point in time. So Sprat1e's not able to lock him down, but he has locked him down here. Vengeur does manage to get around the corner. Will it be enough? Yes, it will. That is frustrating for Sprat1e as he truly used that situation perfectly. Oh, Vengeur able to eke every point of damage out of every situation.
5-minute warning.
Be a ring out there with the knockback. It looked like he was quite close towards the edge. That one would have been the finisher for Vengeur as well if he had landed it. Sprat1e barely gets himself that heavy armor to slap on his chest and somehow stay alive and kicking into this matchup. Vengeur doing a lot of damage with that railgun though. Now favouring to keep the LG out. Instead it'll be the Tri-Bolt that does nothing as Sprat1e's rail connects and sends him packing.
And that's a big lifeline in this low-scoring game.
Tank. Stopwatch.
It makes it a whole lot easier for the potential return to form from Sprat1e. Railgun love tap into the back of Vengeur. That'll be the mega he needs to reset himself as well and get his stock back up tippy top.
Once again, though, Vengeur's really been on the ropes the entire game. Great use of the akimbo from Sprat1e as he's nearly drawn this game back level. Minute, yeah, Vengeur's struggling. For me, he needs to try and get back onto using the rail a bit more. That's where he found most of his success in the early game. But it's been Sprat1e that's controlled the tempo, controlled the engagements, and nearly knocking Vengeur out. But yeah, it's always dangerous to go to the jump plan, no matter how weak your opponent is. And that has given, that's also given Vengeur a major item. Potentially two, because Sprat1e's not, he's too weak to engage. Oh, he's mistimed the heavy. And I think he knows it. He's missed out on both.
Oh,
That was
a little bit of lag there. A little bit of lag.
so.
Yeah.
Me.
No, yeah, I guess he just got stuck slightly. Luckily, back in. Hopefully that won't affect him too much into this matchup, at least, as he's still landing his shots. He also gets the heavy back to really dig himself up slightly. The rockets are connecting, and Vengeur is losing his life. Will go down. One frag is all that stands between them both now, as it is a 4-5 split. Mega help achieved from Sprat1e. That should give him an extra bit of defense that he'll need going into the next potential confrontation. Walking up at the peak of Wiz down near him. Firing out these shots, hoping to connect onto him to really remove him from the equation. Look at the movement speed from Vengeur. He is bouncing around at rapid speeds. High octane stuff is really starting to come through.
Yeah, when we see him now reverting to use of that rail, which is exactly what we suggested he should be doing.
Impressive.
Sprat1e responding in kind. That was a lovely shot. That was nearly connecting as well. Kimbo's there. No way!
That's damn dastardly.
Oh, clutch from Vengeur.
Oh man, that is absolutely sickening. The fact he's pulled that out of the bag at just the right moment. Talking of which, 60 seconds left for Sprat1e. If there is any moment to return to form, it has to be right here, right now, or else he just physically won't have the time. And Vengeur is slowing this one down to a snail's pace, as he doesn't want to run any risks of letting it fall through his fingers. Instead, just begins to take it step by step. Wait until the right opportunity.
Yeah, but once again, it is clutch as Sprat1e can still get a frag and tie it up. That rail is good. Now needs at least two. Oh, the rockets from Vengeur, though, are exceptional.
Stopwatch.
And Sprat1e just says good game and kills himself.
GG. All right. Set
Wow.
the defeat there.
He does. Felt it was one step too far after those two rockets, which I agree with, but you never know. Either way, once again, an extremely close Awoken. Extremely, extremely close. One of the most low scoring we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
And once again, we kind of expected Vengeur to run away with it, but that is not the case. Sprat1e has shown up to play today and is looking really good.
No,
He's
he
got,
is.
once again, he's just sound control throughout. Vengeur on the defense, but Vengeur shows us why he is now a world-class player. Defensive play is the hardest thing to do, and he's excelling at it.
Mm-hmm. And now this means we're forced into this third and final map over on Molten. Sprat1e is going to be picking up the mantle of the Visor, and finally for Vengeur, it will be the Nyx. Now, obviously, Visor versus Nyx, tried and tested. We've seen it many times. The direct counters to each other, essentially. Curious to see how this one is going to go down. Molten's always been quite nice as a decider. In terms of the aggression we've seen, I don't know if you'll be able to do it as well here on Molten, so this could be a little bit more of a standardized game of Quake here, Dan, rather than anything too outrageous.
I think Spotty needs to do that as well as he's been playing, and as well as Vengeur's been playing on the defense. It feels like Spotty is rushing into Vengeur a little bit. He found his most success when he was slowing it down and forming traps. There was 3 or 4 occasions at least where Spotty had this control and felt the impetus to rush, and Vengeur just flicked him up. Like, even that last frag he got, Spotty jumped into it, bounced him up, easy rail. Yes, he had the akimbo out, but there was no need to force that situation. He had Vengeur trapped. So again, he needs to look at each engagement and take a more calculated approach to them.
No, yeah. It does seem like at some points there is a little bit of aggression that's just a tad bit unnecessary, where, you know, if you took the other option of just dialing it back much further and playing the slower game, it could have worked out better. But it's the luck of the draw, really. Moving on to Molten now, it's interesting.
It's the type of thing that it would work against the other 15 players in the league, but
Yeah.
not against the Raffas, the Cyphers, the Coolers, or the Vengeurs, or the Razors. You know, there's very few players that it does not work against, but it's those players you need to make the biggest adjustments to your own game for.
Yeah, those are the ones you have to be prepared to switch things up, and we'll see if there is going to be any switching occurring. We are in here on the final map of the series on Molten. It all comes down to this. For Vengeur, it could be an absolutely amazing day for him if he's able to win here and lock this down versus Sprat1e. He'll be happy with himself.
Once again, similar to Blast, Sprat1e very much deserves the map. He's played exceptional. But it is Vengeur that has the advantage off the start, as once again his rockets have chipped away at Spotty to the point where he is extremely low. Tries to deal some level of damage, but isn't able to. Shouldn't really be committing here, but he decides to, and he's too early to pick it up.
Ooh. Yeah, that's rough. That's not the ideal start whatsoever. Sprat1e running into an early death, and now they're starting to really go into the favor of Vengeur. He has nailed him to the ground.
Yeah, I mean, Vengeur made that look easy, but that type of tracking with a nail gun is not easy.
He just did it so well. Really started to get control of the game here. Sprat1e at least fights him off and forces him back from the Mega, showing that he wants it and that his presence is more important towards it early on. He can now actually get the light armor, and he's in close proximity of that heavy spawn. This should actually be his for free, as it seems like Vengeur isn't going to try and contest.
No, Vengeur obviously decides to back off and play a much slower game, not having anywhere near the stack that Sprat1e does. Not a very good use of the piercing sight, unfortunately, as he felt Vengeur might have been setting up a trap, but instead Vengeur had just retreated. Sprat1e also misses out on the Mega, which he could well have got given his own stack advantage at the time.
Big tag. LG out. LG is shredding through Vengeur. The only issue is that Ghost Walk is allowing him to escape. There was no tactical visor available as well, so he couldn't pop that piercing sight to be able to get vision onto him early. He now has it ready though, and the Ghost Walk is back up in the next 20 seconds. Uses it now whilst he knows he has the advantage to be able to push in, and there can be no easy escape route for Vengeur, and the double rail connection will kill him.
That was really nice by Sprat1e, using the piercing sight to assess the situation and his opponent's positioning, and then the execution was sublime as well.
Stopwatch. Impressive.
Already back up because there are so many time vials on this map. Look at the speed and pressure from Sprat1e. He wants to put, because he knows there's no Ghost Walk on Vengeur, but because of that, he has given up the heavy, which is very painful. And Vengeur might even be able to get across to the Mega. but that missed jump means Sprat1e does pick it up cleanly himself.
Oh, it's a big tag from Sprat1e. Again, that's going to be his vision used so he can try and spot out Vengeur, but he's taken some heavy hits. The Ghost will play. He was looking to try and go for the perforation, run straight through him, and it'll just zap him up instead as he launches himself up the bounce pad, getting that heavy as well. Vengeur, the momentum is starting to build for him. This is where you can potentially snowball a little bit here on a map like Molten. If he can maintain the pace, he needs to get this kill though. So much damage done, but Sprat1e's escaped. Oh, what on earth?
It was an amazing opening, but realistically, Sprat1e's not going to do anything in that situation with only a rocket launcher to his name. So unnecessary, but somehow it has worked out. Great rocket by Vengeur, has to pop the Ghost Walk because he's very, very low. But he's both very low, in fact.
Vengeur with a warning shot, landing right at the feet of Sprat1e, nearly connecting onto him. He's got 5 rails left to shoot with.
5-minute warning.
He's going to have to try and back up for now. Both of them just going for their set rotations really down there. Hasn't been much of a contention point other than just trying to play for the major items. This could be another frag though for Vengeur if he plays his cards right. As Sprat1e is flying towards him, but he's the one hitting his shots.
Yeah, it shows you the vulnerability of the Nyx. If you get caught out ever so slightly, even though Vengeur did nice opening damage, all it required from Sprat1e was rocket rail combo. Oh no. Good prediction by Vengeur. So again, another low scoring game on Molten. Vengeur does have the Ghost Walk up if he really needs it. You obviously want to retain that for as much of the game as you can. And he's forced to pop it there to get out cleanly. Might use the Piercing Sight, but Vengeur's already there to set up and is hitting much more than Sprat1e, who was unprepared for that drop from Vengeur, who's now reclaimed his 2-frag lead.
Yeah, this is good. It's very effective thus far into the game. Vengeur is starting to play a lot more with that momentum and the speed, roaming around, trying to play at angles where he can set himself up to really chip down Sprat1e from a distance. He needs to do so as well. He's much further behind in terms of the stack, hasn't been able to get the mega or the heavy. And again, it seems like he will be forced away from it. There isn't really much of a chance, and now there definitely isn't a chance, as he's been split in 2 by that rail.
Sprat1e guesses right though. But falls. No, that's not necessary.
What? I don't understand. I mean, he was so low. He's luckily just been able to barely clutch his way through it and still get the shot off to do damage. Nearly 8 minutes. Oh, Vengeur, he's watching this pickup. He waited to try and bait him in, allows him to take it so we can hit him with the rockets. And now he's so low for the rail finisher. And again, Vengeur doing damage.
Just slightly sloppy from Sprat1e, like going through the open without really assessing your opponent's position. You know where he is. You know he's got position advantage. It is just slightly careless to do that against someone of Vengeur's caliber. And it's going to cost him the map.
It will, as right now Vengeur is on a warpath, and he started to get his momentum going, and this is where really it becomes so hard to be able to quell him and slow him down.
Yeah, and again, the story of this whole series is so close, but Party, he had all the moments and ingredients to take the series even up to a 3-0, but just the missing, I guess, the missing spark today that to finish it. There were just too many errors against someone of Vengeur's caliber. The basics were all there, the execution was largely there, but yeah, just some moments of lapses in concentration is what cost Sprat1e today.
It's a shame as well because we've all, you know, goodbye. Straight over the ring.
1
The
minute
third ring
warning.
out for the day, I think.
Yeah, Sprat1e's gave up after that frag, unfortunately.
Stopwatch.
Man, it is rough because it's been so nice to see Sprat1e playing so well again. Obviously, once he requalified back into the Pro League, he's had so many games where you see glimpses of just absolute greatness from him, but he can never really see it through. And again here tonight, feels like there was so many times where he had Vengeur backed against the wall, but
This
just
is
didn't
it.
capitalize.
It's an excellent game that's rough around the edges, and until he finds a way to those edges and to refine the way in which he plays, he will always struggle. He'll always put up a great fight because he's an amazing player, but it's those small errors that separate the very best players
You win.
from the excellent players. And at the minute, Sprat1e's sitting in that bracket of excellent. But he has everything it takes to move his game up to that level where he is contending for a top 5 spot.
Yeah. No, I think he definitely does. That series showed that, like, you know, in terms of skill, in terms of mechanical understanding and aim, it's all still there. It's all still rearing up to the same level. Just need tweaks, just needs really finalizing in a few different aspects of his game.
Like, yeah, it feels like he has, and when I used to play Spuddy a lot, he has this ability he times everything perfectly and he has so much pressure, but there's always moments, you know, when you're playing against him where he'll give you an in, and you can't do that because then the best players will capitalize upon that and you won't see the map again. So yeah, it's just the small things that make a big difference.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that is a big 3-0 for Vengeur. That will actually really be fantastic for him. Depending on how things shape up, that could help him in the standings quite a bit. Obviously, a lot of points this far in stage 3. The points mean an awful lot now. And being week 6, I think he's going to be happy with getting a result in like that. Now, coming back in down, our 5th game of the night is going to be Dramus versus Sib. Obviously, an all-American bust-up. Both of them 2 hot contenders that we've touted a lot for who is going to be potentially the next best thing or who will really start to push themselves deeper. Excited to see how that one goes. Join us for that when we return with more Quake Pro League action after the break.